So today I'm talking about detaching emotionally, and I'm going to show you how to detach and let go of control because there's immense relief in this, both in your relationships and to decrease your stress level. But first, my name is Michelle Ferris. I'm a psychotherapist, and I love helping people create relationships at work. So detachment is basically the ability to let go of expectation and control around people, places, things, and definitely outcomes. Because when we hold on too tight and we're trying to control things that are outside of our control, we're really creating our own suffering. So I'm going to walk you through how to use detachment so that you can get some relief. So the first thing is detaching gives you the ability to recognize what's your responsibility and what isn't. And that is going to take a whole lot of stress out of your life, because when I realized that I was only responsible for myself, my actions, my words, my behaviors, that was a big relief. Because when I felt responsible for my child's behavior, for whether or not I would pass my licensing exam on the first try, which I didn't, I got wrapped up in a lot of suffering because I expected things to be a certain way in my relationships and in my life. And when I realized that that wasn't going to happen, and it was really my choice to practice detachment and learn how to let go of control or to hold on super tight, that was a huge aha in my own recovery. And that's what I want for you. If you've ever had trouble letting go of control, say me too in the comments, because this video is going to help a lot. When you can't let go or detach, you're basically expecting things to be a certain way. Maybe you're expecting that promotion, or you're expecting a relationship or a friendship to last forever. And when they don't, you crash and burn. Now, most of us are going to want our relationships to last a really long time, but if we really put all of our emotional eggs into that relationship surviving long term and it doesn't happen, that's what creates the suffering. So for me, I have a very different point of view of relationship today than I did even 10 years ago. Because 10 years ago, I wanted all my friendships and relationships to last forever. And that was my expectation, which was hugely unrealistic. I had to learn some really tough lessons around that. But today, in fact, I just had a new friend a couple of years ago, and I love this woman, but I also know that she may not be in my life forever, and that's okay. There are going to be things outside of my control with this other person simply because I can't control what's going to happen in my life or her life. And accepting that is where I've found relief. Because when you can practice detaching with love, you're not going to need to control the outcome. You're not going to expect somebody to be a certain way all of the time or treat you a certain way all of the time, because life is messy and relationships are messy, and sometimes people don't treat us very well. And sometimes you do get hurt by what somebody says or does to you. But practicing detachment is going to help you understand how you can take better care of yourself. Because a simple way to practice detachment is to remove yourself from the situation. So you're literally detaching yourself from that person. Doesn't mean you're going to detach forever, but if you are being mistreated, detaching can be a powerful message for them and for you, because you're taking responsibility by not staying and listening to it. Now, when it comes to outcomes, this is a different deal. In some ways, a lot harder, because when you're expecting life to be a certain way, when you're expecting to get that promotion, or when you're expecting to get that apartment, that's where we can get super frustrated, because while we can do the footwork, as they say in 12-step programs, we can't control the outcome. And the more you can recognize that, the happier you're going to be in the long run. So for instance, when you're detaching, it's the ability to recognize that your expectations and your wants aren't going to happen all the time. That's where practicing acceptance is going to really help decrease your stress. Because if you go into any situation or outcome expecting a certain result, you're going to be disappointed, because some of the time you're not going to get what you want. I know for me, there's a lot of times where I have expectations, even today, and I have to remind myself, oh yeah, that's just what I want, but I'm not guaranteed a certain outcome. And knowing that and reminding myself of that is where the recovery is. And that's what I want for you. So for instance, when a loved one's depressed, you can support them without taking on their depression, without thinking that it's your job to fix it, because it isn't. You can't control whether or not somebody else gets the help they need, but you can show support. You can let them know, hey, I love you, I'm here for you, let me know how to help. That's a way we can detach with love. Instead of taking on that responsibility and feeling compelled to fix or save that other person from themselves, because that's where we create a lot of our own stress. Or when a family member drinks too much, you take responsibility for getting them the help they need, even when they don't want that help. Because that's where detaching can help, is if somebody doesn't want help and you keep trying, that's where you're going to create a lot more stress for yourself. Whereas sometimes in life, people are going to suffer, and it's not our job to fix it because we don't have that power. And recognizing that you don't have that power is actually what's going to give you the relief you need to stay sane in those situations. Because in codependency recovery, you realize that the only thing you have complete control over is yourself. And that is the true form of detachment. You can do your part, but you can't control the outcome. The outcome is beyond what most of us can do. And really recognizing and accepting that is what's going to give you the relief. Because today in my relationships, I can accept that, you know what, some of them may not last. And as painful as I know that will be, I can handle it, because me expecting my relationships to last forever is what creates additional stress for me. And if that creates stress for you, say me too in the comments, because if you struggle with that, I'm right there with you. But that's one example of how you can shift your expectations so that you can practice detaching. A common misconception with detachment also is assuming that it will show that you don't care about the other person. But actually the opposite is true. When you can detach with love and show support and be there for them, but remove yourself when it's unhealthy, that is healthy behavior. And that is actually a form of healthy love. And that's what I want for you. Because you can shift from taking responsibility and worrying about them constantly to putting the focus back on you and trying to control what you can control, which is, again, only yourself. So when you're detaching, think about where the line is between what you can control in your life or in that relationship and what you can't. What are those outcomes that you're trying to control because you want it so badly? Because just like me, when I took my licensing exam, I couldn't control whether or not I passed it. And that was super painful. But if I had had more detachment, I would have had a much easier time, and I probably would have passed the test sooner. So I want you to really think about what are those situations or those relationships where you need to practice detachment to get relief. Now, your next step is to go watch my video on setting boundaries, because that's your next step in your growth. Thanks so much.